you've got to set up a cadence with your seller of how often you're going to update them. And you got to have conversations. I got a seller right now where I've been doing a lot of updating via text and email, and it became pretty evident to me that they need to have some phone conversations. And so I would recommend, depending on your market and your workload, that you're setting up to either have a weekly or a bi-weekly conversation, whether it's a phone or Zoom or in person. You got to have that meeting or recalibration meeting at least every 2 weeks at a minimum once you're live on the market, if not every week. Welcome to the Whissel Way Podcast. My name is Kyle Whissel, your host with eXp Realty in San Diego.
And my name is Bryan Koci, Director of Marketing here at Whissel Realty Group.
The goal of the show is to give you the tools, techniques, and tactics to go out there and crush it in your business. The way that we like to do that is to answer the questions that you have for us. So if you got a question, you want to have us answer it on a future episode of the show, you can always go to thewhisselway.com. You can ask us questions on there, subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel, join our referral network, email newsletter, and private Facebook group where I share a lot of behind the scenes stuff and tricks and tips that we're working on. And you can get dialed in with our Media Mayor Mastermind course, which has taken everything Bryan and I've learned about creating video over the last 8 years together and how we've shot thousands of videos with millions of views, and going to teach you everything that you need to know to go and integrate media into your real estate business. And that is half off right now. So check that out at thewhisselway.com. With that said, what's our topic, Bryan?
That was pretty quick. That was good.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be talking
a
about
couple times.
Yeah. Today we're talking about something that not one specific person asked or two specific people, but I think
all the people.
The people with a real estate license and the people that live in the United States. I think everyone is asking about this. And obviously the market has shifted or is shifting. I don't know if we can say it's been done yet. I don't think it is. But things are slowing down now that we've seen it been going crazy for the past 2 years, right?
Now that depends what you're saying, right? What does slowing down mean?
I don't know. You tell me. You're the one that knows.
You said it. So what is slowing? This is the thing, right? Like, what does that mean, though?
Homes aren't selling as quickly or as crazily as they have been in the last 2 years. So
we're just gonna make up words now.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the increasification of interest rates and the.
I'll never forget when my stepsister used the term favoritist and insisted that it was a real word and that we look it up. And I'm not going to tell you what it says, but you might want, if you look at the Urban Dictionary definition of favoritist.
I thought you were going to do the fact that it had scones on the house.
Oh, all the things. Brandy, I love you, girl. Or the person who draws blood from you, the floor and bottomist. All those great things. I miss having her.
Anyways, so things have changed. Homes are not selling in 0 point. Like, we're not having to do days on market based on seconds anymore.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
And we don't have to do. We don't have to present offers in triple digits anymore to our sellers.
Yeah.
Which is a correction of the market, not a crash. We're not seeing that. It definitely hasn't crashed as of yet. Whether that will or will not, that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But obviously, sellers that are putting their house on the market today versus 6 months ago are flipping their shit right now. They're like, we've had like 3 people call and no one showed up and the open house doesn't exist and we won't have 20 offers within the first 20 minutes. What's going on? How do you prep your sellers and tell them like what do you tell your sellers?
For sure. And so just to hit on the market, I have a lot of people asking me, like, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Here's my opinion, which I've done this record this. Right?
Yeah, we're going to record this so that way we can look back at it in the future and make sure if you're right or wrong. Go ahead.
So I've done this I've been licensed for like 15 years. I've been in the industry for 20 years and I have a degree in economics. And here's my prediction. I don't fucking know. Nobody fucking knows. My prediction is, over the next 12 months, we will be flat, plus or minus 10%. That's my prediction. I'm giving myself a 20% range of what I think is going to happen.
That's pretty safe.
I think it's pretty safe, right? I don't know, and nobody knows. And anybody who says they know is just bullshitting you and is guessing. because nobody knows, right? We were in this moment, 2.5 years ago when COVID first hit. When COVID first hit, we all thought the world was ending. Like, this is it. This is how we're all going to go. And 2 months later, the market skyrocketed. We went from literally not even being able to physically go inside of a house to the craziest real estate market we've ever seen.
Positive real estate market.
Yeah, positive appreciation, real estate market, number of home sales, all of that. So who predicted that? Nobody. If somebody can claim they predicted that we were going to go up 20% year over year, 2 straight years after COVID, find me a video and prove it, because I don't think there's anybody. So I don't know. Could this be the same thing all over again? Could we have this like kind of moment of panic for a little while and then we go to the moon again? Maybe. Could we panic and go into a spiral and fall through the floor? Maybe.
I think you should predict each one, and then we'll cut that one clip out. We'll date stamp it. We'll cut that one clip, and we'll use that in 2 years.
Yeah, we'll record 3 versions of this podcast, and then we'll use the one we need to. That'll make me look good in a few years. No, because there's the people that have been predicting the market's going to crash for like 10 years, and then when it finally crashes, you're like, "See, I told you."
It's like right around the corner.
Yeah, well, it's like, yeah, if I listened to you for the last 9 years, I missed out on a ton of opportunity. But there's going to be those people, inevitably.
Yep, it's fine.
So anyways, yeah, so as far as like where it's going to go, I don't know. I legitimately am torn. We could go down. We could see a pullback. Now, there's a technical definition of correction, which ties more to the stock market than the real estate market. But if you want to take the stock market definition of a correction, that's 10% or more. So correction is defined as 10% decrease. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's worst case over the next 12 months. I think most likely case is relatively flat. And I think best case is up 10%. So that's my prediction on what we're going to do. But I don't know. You saw rates jump up a few weeks ago. And I learned, one of my lenders taught me this, and this is playing out completely true, is they go up like an elevator and they go down like stairs. So you'll see rates jump. I mean, you saw rates jump almost a point in a day, but they've actually since then, and now we're recording this today, just I think whenever we talk about this stuff, we got to date stamp it. This is June 27th. So it's Monday, June 27, 2022. You saw rates go up a few weeks ago, a whole point, and then they've been slowly falling back down like stairs since then. And
like
so
gas
that's
prices.
True. Yeah. Crazy. $7.30 a gallon for diesel right now. It's awful. Thank goodness for Tesla. All right, so back to the original question from the rabbit hole, which I forgot because I went down a super deep rabbit hole there.
What conversations are you having with current sellers or potential sellers to kind of prep them for what is currently happening?
Yeah. So the big thing is, we've got to make sure that we're not looking in the rearview mirror, and we got to make sure we're looking out through the windshield. And if we're comparing what happened 3 months ago, or what our friend sold their place for, or what our neighbor sold their place for 3 months ago, like, we got to throw that out the window. That doesn't matter at all. We got to look at where are we at today and where are we going. And we can at least project 30 days out. I can confidently project 30 days out, which is all I need to project when I'm talking with one of my sellers. I don't need to project 3 years out with my seller today. So confidently, I can tell a seller, this is where rates are at. This is what I think is going to happen. I believe, at least in San Diego, we saw closings in April. You had to pay 107% of list price in April. And then in May, it was 105%. Now, this is what closed. So we got to make sure, right? What closed in May actually went pending in March and April. But that was at 105%. I think by the time we see the data of what went pending in June, I think it will be right around 100%, potentially even a little under. And it's okay that it's under. Now, that's off of original list price. And the reason for that is a lot of agents are relying on shitty data. Like, oh, well, if I pull the data, if I go on my MLS's website today and I pull the data they provide, and I look at the most recent data, it says original sale price to original list price is 105%. That's the data I have as a realtor. Now, I know way better, and hopefully those of you that are watching know way better, that is data of what closed in May, which means it went pending in March and April. But a lot
when
of
things
people,
were super
which
hot.
was the hottest, the peak of the craziness. But that's not the reality. But a lot of agents don't know that. A lot of agents are like, they pull up data with 105%. Okay, well, the last comp was $1 million. We're going to price it $1,050,000.
Yeah, I feel like that was the strategy of like, well, this one sold 2 doors down for X. Let's put it 10% over that.
10% above, yeah.
And let's go. Like that was the strategy. And it worked. And then they got over asking on that too.
Yep. So you're seeing there's a lot of price reductions right now. I mean, last data I pulled from Altos Research, altos.re, there's like 31% of the homes in San Diego have had a price reduction. Now, what does that really mean? Like, well, a lot of those are the homes that were priced 5 or 10% above the last model match comp, and now they're pricing back down, getting closer to reality. If the last home sold for $1 million, I think the next home's going to sell for around $1 million. The problem is people are still doing what they were doing 90 days ago, and they're pricing at $1,050,000, $1,070,000, $1,001,000. Like they're still living in the past. So that's where I think that we need to understand we're probably more flat. So first thing we got to do is we got to look at the comps a little differently than we were. We're not taking the highest possible comp and then adding 5 to 10% on. Let's look at the comps and let's go back to fundamental CMAs and let's figure out what's the bracket year comps, what's the high end, what's the low end, and then where do we fall within those brackets, and that's where we need to price it. You've got to price it in line with sold comps right now. You cannot project above sold comps. You've got to be much more realistic with it, because if you overprice a home in this market, you are not only shooting your seller in the foot, but you're shooting yourself in the foot, because you're setting yourself up for a very shitty transaction. Your job's been so easy as a listing agent for the last couple years to where even if you missed the price by 5%, you were still getting offers. Like the market made you look good as a listing agent. Well, guess what? This market's going to make you look really bad as a listing agent. And so if you screw up and you overprice your homes, you're going to end up having a lot of very difficult conversations with your sellers. All right, we got to adjust the price again. We got to adjust the price again. We got to adjust the price again. No showings, got to adjust. No showings, got to adjust. No showings. That is not fun. Like the heyday of like, oh, we'll put it on Friday and then we'll have multiple offers on Monday and we'll pick our favorite one, or we'll go back highest and best and try to get more money. Like that shit's done, at least for now. So you really got to go back to the fundamentals right now and really start understanding how to comp. If you have just been pulling of comps and just picking a number and putting it out there like that, those days are done. I think most of us need to go back and have a little refresher course on pulling comps and understanding how to truly value a property. So I think that's part one, is understanding like how to actually truly value property and pricing in line with the comps, not just pulling a number out of our butt and knowing the market's going to cover us if we screw up.
Yeah, because you could put the number out whatever you wanted. You could put $1, have no idea what comps are, and the market's going to tell you what they're going to pay, and it's going to be over what it should sell for.
Yeah.
So you really didn't, unless you totally messed up and priced it $1 million over. Like that was easy. Cool.
Yeah. So I think that's part one. Part two is you got to have a realistic conversation with the seller and help them to understand that what their friend sold for, what their neighbor sold for, or how quickly it sold, or how much above list price it sold. Like we got to have a realistic conversation with them that this is the market we're in. We're projecting to see properties relatively flat. We're projecting that the days on market is probably going to be about 2 to 3 times as high. Now, 2 to 3 times as high. Our market time was like 4 days for a little while there. So now maybe it's going to take, a few weeks for it to sell. Like, got to have that conversation with your seller and let them know, because if they go into this because their neighbor sold quickly for 7% above list price in 4 days, if that's the expectation they're going in with and it doesn't happen, you're screwed. Like that's really hard to recover from. So you got to spend a little bit more time up front with your seller to get them up to speed. Hey, here's where the market's at. Here's what I recommend we price it at. Here's how long I think it's going to take to sell. And, you got to go through all of that. The conversation, and if you're watching or you're listening right now, this is where you grab a pen or open your notepad on your phone. These are the script that I use with my clients. And now you got to understand you're going to adjust this based on your market. If you're in, the hottest part of town and there's still a lot of activity, maybe you go higher on the number of showings. If you're in a remote town where, you don't have a whole lot of people, you're going to go a little lower. But the conversation that I typically have with the seller is, once we list the home, we're typically looking to see an average of 2 to 3 showings per week. If at any point we have 2 consecutive weeks where we don't see 2 to 3 showings per week, that's the market letting us know that they're not seeing alignment between the price and the home. It's not even getting them excited enough to come see the home. So while you and I know your home is absolutely amazing, the price is not enticing people to come see the home. So that's the market letting us know we need to make an adjustment, because I want them to come see your home. Your home is amazing, the backyard, on all the work you guys have done to it, and they just need to get out here and see it. But the current price is not getting them out here, so we need to make an adjustment. You have to get rid of the word reduction, and it's either adjustment or improvement. So we need to do a price improvement, or we need to do a price adjustment. Those are 2 other ways. You just remove the word reduction and change it, and it makes this conversation go a lot easier. So 2 to 3 per week. If we don't see that, that's a market letting us know the price isn't attractive enough to get somebody to come see the home. Then the second part of it is we're typically looking to see an offer within 10 showings. So if we get to the point where we've had 10 showings and we haven't received an offer, that's the market letting us know that the price was attractive enough to get them to come see the home, but now there's something about the home that's not aligning with the price. And in that scenario, we need to go back and we need to look at the feedback that's been provided and figure out, is the problem something that we can fix, something that we can adjust? So it could be the carpet smells like cat piss. The colors.
I knew you'd go there.
Yeah. There's ice cream smeared all over the walls. Like, it could be something like that. Like your Dungeons and Dragons cave is creeping people out.
That's not me.
It could be. It could be that. And
so bad.
Those are things that we could change. It could also be you back up to a cemetery or a freeway or an industrial plant. Like,
power
you can't
lines.
change power lines. You can't change those things. So now we got to look at where we at on the feedback. Is it something where we can actually, the carpet smells cool, let's tear the carpet out, let's put some fresh carpet in there. Okay, that we could change. But if it's backing up to power lines, that you can't change. So the only thing you can do is you can adjust the price to compensate for the fact you back up to power lines. So that's a conversation we got to have, right? Which you actually, you need to get feedback on your properties now, guys. I know this is new to some of you, but this is what you do. If somebody shows your home and doesn't write an offer, you need to call them and find out how the showing went and why did they not write an offer. And you need to keep a log of all of that feedback, because you need to be able to have that conversation with your seller. All right, we've had 12 showings. We haven't received an offer yet. Here's the feedback. Here's my recommendation of what we do moving forward. And that's either get rid of the cat piss carpet or we adjust the price because of the power lines. But you don't know if that's the problem if you're not getting the feedback from the agents. So you got to get comfortable. Don't just rely on showing time. Agents are freaking lazy. Why are they? Now, we teach our agents, is if you give feedback, you'll get feedback, right? Do what you want agents to do, and it's going to come back to you. So we should all, as an industry, let's raise the bar. And if somebody requests feedback from you, let's give it to them. You know what? And if they don't request feedback, let's still give it to them, because they need the feedback. They just don't know it. But let's all help each other out. Let's all give feedback after a showing so we can help the listing agent, who can then help the seller. I think it's super important.
You said 2 words in there, especially in the first part of it, that I really liked. One, you talked about adjustment a lot. Price improvement, price adjustment. I like price adjustment better. I think price improvement, as a consumer, I try and put my consumer hat on. That seems like you're trying to say something nice when it's not. You're not going to the gym to do a weight improvement. Come on.
I need a weight improvement
God,
right
me
now.
Too. Let's not talk about it.
I went to the fair yesterday. I need a big weight improvement.
The other thing that I love that you talk about is you use the word alignment. That the price isn't in alignment with the value. You didn't say your home's overpriced, because again, people immediately get defensive there. But I love that word alignment of these 2 things are out of alignment. And people can understand that. And I don't think they would take that as personally of obviously. It's not going to be yep, they love it. They want to pay $1 million. Then why didn't they pay $1 million? Fuck if I know. So
you sound like chiropractors. We're talking about alignments and adjustments and all this. Chiropractors are digging this conversation.
The other thing that you talked about I want to add a little bit more context before we go into our widget. You talked about feedback for a minute, and I like that, especially for showings. One of the things you told our agents over the weekend is if you're holding an open house for someone, which the last 2 years people have been begging people to hold open houses, you said make sure you give them feedback. You said the positive feedback, the negative feedback, the number of guests, right?
Yes, I want to know how many people came through. What I started to realize is I was asking my agents for feedback, and they'd be like, oh, well, Sally and Bob Smith came in. They live around the corner, and they have a little dog. I don't care, nor does the seller care. What do they have to say about the house, okay? So I want to know number of showing, or number of people who came through. I want to
Is
know
that number of groups or number of individual people? Doesn't matter.
I'd prefer to know how many groups came through. That's the more important because that's how many prospects came through.
Yep.
If it's a family of 8 and then you like 8 people came through, but it was only one group, like that's different. So the number of groups is more important. So number of groups that came through, the positive feedback, the negative feedback, most importantly, the negative feedback. Don't be like, everybody loved it. You have a great house. It should sell soon. Shut the fuck up and give me real feedback, please. I need it. My seller needs it.
Well, what's great about that?
Give me the real feedback. Like you're doing me a disservice. You're doing the seller a disservice. Oh, it's a great home. It'll sell soon. Shut up, please.
Well, and the great thing about that is we had one of our agents talk about NLP, Mike Proctor, and he talked about different things we could do. But at this point, you can say, like, you're not the bad guy in this situation. You said, hey, my agent held an open house. There was 22 groups that came by. They love the layout and the flow. But these are the negative. You're not telling them the negative things. You're not the bad guy. Whoa. It wasn't me. I don't think the power lines going through your master bedroom is a bad idea. I think that's super cool. But everyone that came by said it was an issue. So that helps you divert the blame. And you're like, yeah, they're assholes, but they all said it. So let's look into it a little bit here. Yep. So I like that a lot.
There's another strategy you can use to get that is broker open houses or broker caravans. Those can be really helpful when you have a house that's not selling because now you get all the local brokers to come through the house and you ask them for feedback. So when we have them come through, we have them fill out a little feedback card and ask them for their straight feedback. And then you get them to write down what they liked, what they didn't like, and give that to the seller. And now you say, hey, I had 8 of the top brokers in town come through and here's their feedback. That's pretty valuable, right?
Yep.
If you need to go in for, like, if it's not selling and you got a seller's like, oh, the house is fine, and you get 8 of the top, brokers, top agents in town that come through and they all say the same thing. And I'll literally scan them in. I have them write it on paper and I'll scan it in, send it to the seller. So the seller doesn't think, great, because the seller is always going to like want to see it with a rose-colored lens. Like, no, here's their real feedback from the brokers. Here's what they're saying. And I don't put the broker's name. I have them write it on it on a different part. But like, here's the 8 people who came through and here's what their feedback was. It's really valuable. So if you have a seller who's not wanting to like listen to you, have a caravan and get the broker's feedback and relay that feedback to your seller. And then now maybe they'll realize like, all right, hey, this is what people are saying. Like the cat piss and the power lines are a big deal to people. Go figure.
I don't think that's true, but that's fine.
Brian would love it.
It's gross. All right.
But I think we didn't even dive into a lot of the marketing and all that, but we dove into just kind of the setup and the conversations that you got to have. I think the last part, and then we'll go on to our widgets, is you've got to set up a cadence with your seller of how often you're going to update them. And you got to have conversations. I got a seller right now where I've been doing a lot of updating via text and email, and it became pretty evident to me that they need to have some phone conversations. And so I would recommend, depending on your market and your workload, that you're setting up to either have a weekly or a bi-weekly conversation, whether it's a phone or Zoom or in person. You got to have that meeting or recalibration meeting at least every 2 weeks at a minimum once you're live on the market, if not every week.
I would think especially every week because they're expecting it to be sold already.
Yeah. I think right now you probably weekly is going to be better as the market stabilizes and normalizes a little bit more, where people realize, oh, it actually does take a few weeks, maybe even a month or 2 to sell. Then you can go to bi-weekly because weekly can get a lot. I mean, we have 60 plus listings right now. Like it's pretty tough to have that many conversations. So you'll adjust that accordingly. But I think you need to have conversations. You need to just block off an hour or 2. And it's just every Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. I don't like those on Mondays or Fridays. So typically Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you got to be having those conversations, and you just block that time off in your calendar and you let your sellers know, like, hey, every Wednesday between 2 and 3, I'll be reaching out to get you an update on things and we can discuss strategies. Like
Cool.
that should be, it's called like a pipeline review is what a lot of people will call it. And you just got to have those conversations on a weekly basis right now.
I like it.
Cool.
You have the same screenshot that I pulled up.
Yeah. I was ready.
Yep. All right.
Coming prepared. Oh, I can get, there's my widget.
Go ahead.
I'll take a simple one. All right. Hopefully you guys got some value out of the show today. If you did, if you're watching on YouTube, if you can hit that thumbs up button, let YouTube know. It's greatly appreciated. If you have some questions about the episode, throw them in the comments section. And if you want more of the content, you can hit the subscribe button and the little notification bell, and YouTube will make sure to notify you every time we drop a new episode. And if you are listening on a podcast platform, if you made it all the way this far and you're hearing this, if you could write a review on whatever platform. So if you're on iHeart or Spotify or Pandora or iTunes or wherever you're listening, if you could throw a review, maybe just write a sentence or two. It's just really appreciated. We really want to grow our podcast audience. So thank you in advance for that. And if you got questions or topics you want us to hit on a future episode, you can always go to thewhisselway.com. Ask us questions, subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel, join our referral network, email newsletter, and private Facebook group where we share a lot of tips and tricks, and get dialed in with our video content creation course called Media Mayor Mastermind. We'll teach you everything Bryan and I have learned over the last 8 years of cranking out media together, and put in a nice little package for you to watch at your leisure. And it's half off right now. So visit thewhisselway.com and get dialed in with that course. Before we wrap, we want to dive into something we call our Whissel Widget of the Week. This is something that saves us time, makes us more money, or just helps us have more fun. What do you got for us, Bryan?
This is one that I haven't personally used yet, but I think we're going to look into it. I've seen it on Instagram Reels. I've seen it on TikTok. On a call I was on today, someone mentioned that they're using it with their virtual assistant. And it's called Descript, Descript. And it does some really cool things of helping with video transcriptions, adding in subtitles. They have overdub stuff. Lots of really cool things. It's kind of like a web-based video editor from what I've seen. And again, something I'm going to look into more. And I was looking at pricing. It's really affordable from what I've seen. So basically unlimited everything is $24 a month if you pay annually, which is not a lot compared to what it can do. And if I remember correctly, what I've seen is you can actually go into this, it'll watch your video and it'll actually pull out, it'll show you the transcript, and you can actually delete words and it deletes it from your video. So you can delete your filler words, you can delete curse words. I don't know if you can rearrange things, but it's a really clever way to do some video editing that I haven't seen in anything else. So Descript.com is my widget this week.
Cool. I'm going to share one because it just popped in my head, and those are the best ones to share. I have had a lot of friends get hacked lately on Instagram and Facebook, and you guys have probably all seen it, where you start getting these random messages from them in Messenger and their DMs. And it's like, oh, I saw this video and thought of you, and they try to get you to click it. Now you got this, now you're getting hacked. And or I've had people who've had their accounts literally taken away from them and shut down. Like, nobody wants that to happen. So there is something that I think everybody should set up. It's called Factor Authentication. And you should have that set up both on your Facebook and your Instagram. Think about if you lost your Instagram or your Facebook tomorrow, you would probably cry. Like, think about how many photos you have of your friends, your family, your husband, your wife, your kids, like parents, all that. Like, most of us would probably cry for a significant period of time if we lost our Facebook or Instagram accounts. So I strongly recommend everybody go and turn two-factor authentication on. What that will do is not only require that you put a password in to log in, but then it will have you either send a text message to you to confirm your identity, or there's an app called Authenticator from Google that is like a random thing. It's just a fancy way to do it to verify your identity. So it just verifies you two different ways versus one. I know it's a little bit of a headache when you log in that it does this, but I promise you that little bit of a headache is a whole lot less painful than losing your entire account. So set up two-factor authentication on Facebook, Instagram, really all of anywhere that offers it, you should have it turned on. I'm trying to do you a favor.
makes it difficult for me to log into your shit.
It does. I know. Yeah. If you're like me and other people are logged into your accounts and posting, yeah, I know it's inconvenient, but you're going to deal with it because I don't want my shit to get stolen or hacked or shut down. So it'll be fine. It's worth it.
Cool.
All right. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys got a ton of value out of the show today. Again, I'm Kyle Whissel with eXp Realty in San Diego.
I'm Bryan Koci.
See you guys next week.
Later.
Wait. Before you leave, I want to share some more tips and tricks that we're using in our business to take it to that next level. Just click right here. And don't forget to subscribe. Click right here.